afterwards. And we are, perfect. Thank you, Liz. And we're going to welcome all your questions. So please place them in the Q&A box and not the chat box. And we're going to address them as we go through and certainly talk about them as we're wrapping up. We'll have plenty of time for questions. And if you have any other issues, email us at info@anjac.org. So we are so happy to also say hello to all our clean community coordinators and other members. For those of you who don't know who ANJAC is, we are a statewide private nonprofit that works with local environmental commissioners and green teams. And we encourage you to look into us and take our municipal membership form and see if you want to work with us going forward. Love to have you guys there. So today we're here to talk about plastics and litter. And we know that plastic is connected to climate change, health, wildlife, and environmental justice. But there's been some new information that's come out in the last couple of months that I want to share with folks. First is this NIH study that came out in January 2024 that says that a liter of bottled water includes 240,000 tiny pieces of plastic, and 90% of these fragments are micro and plastics and nanoplastics. So that's a pretty shocking number of what happens in just in a bottle of water. There was also another study that came out recently that said that microplastics are now linked to heart attacks and strokes. So there's just a lot of problems with plastic. There's emissions from plastics generation that are exceed that of coal-fired power plants. And just yesterday, there was a Senate Energy and Environment meeting, and there were about 8 bills dropped in dealing with plastic. And Joanne, in her presentation, is going to cover a couple of those bills. So this is incredibly timely, our conversation today about how important it is. So here's some more information that might surprise you. It certainly surprised me. The New Jerseyans dispose 3.7 pounds of solid waste and 2.2 pounds of recycling per person per day. And this number keeps rising. So we really have to work on waste reduction. So according to Upstream Solutions, which is a national leader in reuse and refill, they're saying that nearly 1 trillion disposable food service products are used each year in the US. And that's equivalent to about 25, the weight of 25 Empire State Buildings. So that is a lot. And nearly 9 million tons equal to the total weight of all disposals used. And roughly 20 billion pieces of litter are from disposable food service packaging. And that's, obviously for all of us who are out there doing litter cleanups, we see it. So the use of disposables creates significant climate pollution, energy use, and water. Sorry, my photo blocked that information. And so that was national information. So we're going to go super local. And I want to share these 2 photos. This is from Saturday. The photos are from the Greenbrook. So the Greenbrook is obviously an impaired waterway. It crosses multiple towns and counties on its way to the lower Raritan River. And there's tremendous amount of trash and volume of trash. So as you can see in the photo on the left, you could, there's tires, there's plastic litter, a lot of plastic, some containers and I've been part of helping to clean up the Greenbrook for about 15 years. I work for ANJAC, but I also volunteer with the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership. So for 15 years, we're seeing all sorts of stuff from TVs to toys to mattresses, and a lot of tires as well. So this past Saturday, folks from LRWP coordinated a tire cleanup, and they pulled out 165 tires. So there's a lot of work to do in the Greenbrook, and I got to share just one little tidbit. here in this little bit of, on the left-hand side, there's a little bit of water. Right before you see all the trash, and I saw little baby ducks with their mama, and it just kind of made me sad because we certainly want a cleaner environment here. So in order to do that, we are working. We're doing a cleanup of the Green Brook that's coming up on Sunday, May 19th. And we're also super excited that we are doing a ribbon cutting of the Bandit. So this is a trash trap that Stormwater Solutions and Gary helped us put together. So this is first of its kind in New Jersey using the Bandalon. And we are beyond thrilled to see how this is all going to play out. And hopefully it's going to catch all that litter you just saw. So doing the trash trap, and Gary's going to talk a little bit more about the whole process of getting something started in your community. But it is definitely, there are a lot of partners involved in making this happen. We work with New Jersey Clean Communities. We work with Stormwater Solutions, the DEP, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, NOAA, and the DPWs and the mayors from the variety of municipalities that are part of the Green Brook. So for example, the cleanup on Sunday, May 19th, it's gonna take place in 4 different locations: Dunellen, Greenbrook, Middlesex Township, and Plainfield. And when I have a minute, I'll drop those links. So if you want to join us for the ribbon cutting or the cleanup, we welcome you. Especially if you love to get wet and you're passionate about cleaning up all that litter. So bring your waders and get ready to get dirty. But all is not lost. Along with adding the things like trash traps into our waterways, we're so excited. I want to celebrate, woohoo, because the plastic pollution reduction law hit its 2nd year anniversary. And this photo right here is actually a photo of a cotton field. As I was searching, I didn't realize, but it's the 2nd year anniversary gift. So 2 years, and May 4th is 2 years. And I want to say it's going really well. We've certainly seen a reduction of litter in especially plastic bags. When we go out and do cleanups. So that's been awesome. So I just, a few pieces of information here. This past January, the World Economic Forum recognized New Jersey's plastic bag as the most effective of the 10 states, which is yay, amazing. So the first year, 5.5 billion single-use plastic bags and 110 million single-use plastic bags removed from the waste stream. Year 2, we're looking at about 11 billion plastic bags. And as I mentioned, we are seeing less plastic bags in our litter cleanups. So this data is super, super important for us to monitor the progress we're making and what else we need to work on. So I think we can all agree it's certainly not enough to recycle. We have to reduce consumption. It's critical. And thank you all for joining us here, because you folks are the ones that are leading these efforts. I'm going to encourage you to use your town's clean community funds to build hydration stations. And again, I can't stress how important litter data is. There's in the second screen here, New Jersey Clean Communities has a litter survey and data form. The LRWP of this coming weekend will be using this form. And we're going to tally up what we're collecting, and we're going to share that out share that back to New Jersey Clean Communities so they can keep track of what's happening around the state. And I encourage you guys to do that as well. So I want to talk about one other piece here, which is I am a member of the Plastics Advisory Council, which is a state council. And we are currently we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, or is it the other way? But we're working on wrapping up our 2nd year the second year report. And a big part of what we're going to focus on is waste reduction, what can be done. So we hosted these focus groups and refill. We had about 4 of them talking about waste reduction in schools, businesses, disposable free dining, takeout dining, and zero waste events. It was incredibly fascinating. I was helping to co-facilitate it. It was phenomenal. 35 local and national experts. And we have some really exciting recommendations about building a waste council at the state level. And we're going to encourage governors to do an executive order on waste reduction and encourage them to do some of these things, such as green procurement, water refill stations at state-owned and operated venues, stop purchasing single-use plastic cups, and plastic beverages. So more to come on that, but please keep your eye open for this new report. But what can you do right now? So right now, what can be done is something called skip the stuff. So I don't know about you all, but it really frustrates me when I order takeaway and I get extra utensils and chopsticks and so many ketchup packets. There's no need for that. I have all of this at home. Even when I ask them, please don't include anything extra, they still do it. So we have some towns that have passed a skip the stuff ordinance, and there's also a state bill pending. But for now, we're trying to encourage municipalities. Maplewood, Red Bank, Stone Harbor, Cranford, and Garwood have already passed such ordinance. And it's truly a win-win-win. The businesses, save money and labor costs. We try to save trash costs. We just generally reduce waste. And for those municipalities that participate in Sustainable Jersey, we're proposing Sustainable Jersey points for this. We have a model ordinance on our website, njnoplastics.org, and Beyond Plastics has a toolkit as well, which I'll share with you. There is a Beyond Plastics New Jersey group that started in January. Incredibly engaged group of volunteers, and it's phenomenal. If you folks are interested, please follow them on Instagram at Beyond Plastics NJ and get involved in what else you can do to educate your community. All right, so spring is upon us, and then summer and fall, a lot of events happening. So I'm going to encourage you all to consider zero waste events. This is also proposed for Sustainable Jersey points. And there are events that are happening throughout the states that are do parts of this. So for example, in Asbury Park, they have an annual See Here Now music festival, and they have a deposit system for reusable cups. And Jack, when we do our annual Congress, we're all about zero waste, and we make an effort to do all of these things. We work with a food waste hauler. We use real utensils. We don't have single-use water bottles. And so, it's a process, it's a learning process, but it's incredibly doable, and it feels really good to do it too. This is probably one of my most favorite slides because it's what can I do? Vote with your wallet, say no to utensils when ordering takeaway, educate your family and friends. Plastic pollution is a public health crisis, climate change, and environmental justice issue. And workplaces. So I know you're all Uber volunteers and some of you, but if you can take this information back into the place where you do your business, and bring this knowledge and see where there's opportunities to increase recycling and waste reduction, it goes a long way. And also call DEP about non-compliance at 1-877-WARN-DEP. So this is specific to the plastic bag law. I know from my own personal experience, there's a pet store that was near me. And after the law went into effect, I saw that they were still giving out single-use plastic bags. So I called DP and they went over there and they had a conversation with them. And it was just I guess kind of a misunderstanding. They were a national chain based out of California. They really didn't understand the New Jersey law. And they got it. So the next time I went there were no single-use plastic bags. So this law is working, but DP staff is incredibly small, so they need our help. So yeah, spread that message. And that's what I have. So thank you so much. I'm gonna drop some links into the chat while Joanne is talking, and she's up next. Hey, Joanne.
Beanie. I'm going to try to find, this is
Right.
the hinky part of me without my glasses on, trying to share my presentation. Okay. One more click, hopefully. Here we go. So good afternoon. It's officially afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, although I see a lot of Clean Communities coordinators on this webinar. My name is Joanne Jamenden, Executive Director of New Jersey Clean Communities. I can't believe I'm actually in my 4th year. I just started my 4th year here, which is super exciting. And I just really want to say thank you for those that support and jump on our webinars. It's important to us, for those of you that are certified coordinators, to maintain that certification. So we really try to give you opportunities, for credits throughout the year. This is our 2nd Lunch and Learn event. And I just also want to do a shout out to the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions for partnering with us on this initiative. It seems to be working. We've had great participation so far. I just have a brief 5-minute, review of things that are going on. Obviously, we are a nonprofit organization funded by the Clean Communities Act, which is a small tax on 15 litter generating items. I promised everybody, or at least my counties, that I would mention our annual grant awards, because it's May, and every year the DEP announces Clean Community grants, and that will happen next Wednesday, May 22nd. I am not allowed to give out the amount of funding, but for probably 95% of you, you're going to be seeing additional funds. We did get a lot more funding into the pool. That obviously goes back to 80% of the funds go to municipalities, 10% goes to the counties. New Jersey Clean Communities funds do not change. We remain at $375. So more for you. But stay tuned to www.njclean.org, because all the final grant amounts will be posted next Wednesday at noon. So, and it will all be on njclean.org. Although I'm sure there will be a press release from Commissioner LaTourette, but that's where you can go when you want to add your money to the budget. And just a reminder, the amount of funding is based on population, housing units, and road mileage. This is just to reiterate, obviously Clean Communities funds are used for litter abatement, education, and enforcement, but we're really focused on litter prevention, which is really what we're going to be talking about today. I promised you at our Lunch and Learn in January, we reviewed some of our PSAs on cigarette butt litter and general litter, and I promised you we would have new ones on balloon releases and reusable bag. So I'm going to share them with you quickly before I turn this stage over to Gary. Hopefully this is going to work, so bear with me.
Balloons are a fun and festive way to celebrate special occasions, but when released into the atmosphere, they can cause harm to wildlife and pollute the environment, as well as get tangled in power lines, causing outages. Here is how you can help. Avoid releasing balloons by keeping them tethered or weighed down. Properly dispose of balloons after use. Choose to celebrate with bubbles or by planting a tree. Together we can make a difference. Find out more at litterfreenj.com. Sponsored by the New Jersey Clean Communities Council.
So I hope everyone heard that. That was our 30-second version. We also have a longer version. And now I'm going to play the reusable bag one, but keep in mind, these were sent out to all of the county coordinators and they will be posted on Litter Free NJ. If you want to take them and change the tagline and use your Clean Communities grant funds, by all means, we encourage you to do that.
Don't let your reusable bags go to waste. The New Jersey Clean Communities Council is partnering with local governments and food banks to collect your clean, gently used bags as they serve those with food insecurity. It's easy to donate. Go to litterfreenj.com and click on the Reusable Bag and Resource Center to start your own donation program or to find a nearby location to drop off your unwanted reusable bags. Together, we can make a difference. Find out more at litterfreenj.com, sponsored by the New Jersey Clean Communities Council.
Okay, that's my commercials for today. Again, if you go to Litter Free NJ to the downloads page, all this information is available. Deanie mentioned that there was a hearing yesterday at the Senate Environment Committee. These were the 3 bills that were advanced to be voted on. So if anybody is interested and you want to get more information on them, these are the bill numbers.
Cigarette litter?
Sorry, that got tagged in there. Just a couple of upcoming events. The Delaware River and Bay Authority is hosting the World Environment Day on May 29th. It's a free event. It's fantastic. I encourage you all to go. We are working on doing some hands-on demonstrations with Rand Marine at different locations throughout New Jersey. I will remind you, because I mentioned it before, our certification class has been scheduled for the fall. Cara Broccoli tells me it's more than half filled already. So if you're interested, please make sure you register soon. And also a reminder that our upcoming Clean Communities session at the League will be Tuesday, November 19th. And we will also have a booth there. And that's me keeping it short and brief, which is very rare. I know that. Deanie mentioned that, all about zero waste events. I just want to remind everybody to also have litter-free events. Just by incorporating reminders. If you have a stage and a microphone, just remind people it's a litter-free event and not to litter. And they should know that, but you'd be surprised what a little reminder will do. And I guess I'm going to turn it back to Deanie. I think you want to introduce Gary, but I will say I met Gary at a marine debris conference down in Ocean City, Maryland, late last year, and he hoped he would never see me again. But here we are. Here we are. So, but I will turn this over to you, Deanie, to give him a proper introduction. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, when we were pulling this presentation together, we were looking for speakers, you immediately said Gary. So I reached out to him. And Gary, I think you and I talked for an hour and we bonded over all the conversations about plastic and litter and what can be done. So, yeah, as I mentioned, Gary's president of Stormwater Systems, and he's been with the organization for 17 years. And you're going to love hearing him talk. He's got a great twang, and I can probably hear him talk for quite a while. So I am going to manage your slides, and you just let me know when you're ready to advance to the next one.
I'm ready.
Okay.
And thank you for the introduction.
Can
we go back to the first slide?
Yeah, that would help, right? I apologize. I went a little too far. Okay. I think this is the one.
All right. My name is Gary Hopkins, as Deanie mentioned, and I'm here to talk to you about public-private partnerships for trash trap technologies. First of all, I need to let you know a little bit about how I got into this. My business partner and I came out of the plastics industry. And in the late 1990s, we heard about this thing called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And we didn't think much about it. We heard the oceans were filling up with plastic. And then somebody took us to a creek near where we live in Atlanta, Georgia. And we were overwhelmed with what we saw. and we knew we had to do something about it since most of it was plastic and we came out of the plastic industry. And so let's start off with the next slide. So we're a manufacturer and a contractor, and we make several products that fit in our toolbox to catch trash before it gets further downstream. That was our goal. We knew that everybody had streets and catch drain basins, and there was just too much ground to cover. Stream cleanups were tiring. It was hard to get volunteers, and we saw the band-along, and we said, and band-along is not a Southern word. I know I talk funny, but band-along is an Aboriginal word. The product originated in Australia, and it actually has a meaning where two rivers meet. And you don't forget it when you hear it. And then we added Storm-X netting to the arsenal. Band-along, whether it's the band-along litter trap or the band-along bandit, they are floating in stream trash. Deanie showed a picture of one we just recently installed in New Jersey, and it captures floating litter and debris. The Storm-X actually catches floatables and non-floatables because we do get both. Next picture. So how the band-along works, it's anchored to a stream bank or to a concrete head wall, and it just floats. It just uses the natural energy of the current to guide floatables into the trap for removal. It doesn't affect aquatic species, nor will it cause flooding. That's one of the first things engineers look at when they see the product. They go, oh my gosh, this is going to end up somewhere causing some problems. The cost can be shared through public-private partnerships, which I'm here to talk to about today. We view public-private partnerships as the future for funding. I noted that Joanne talked about some funding coming out, but it's never enough. So there's foundations, corporations, government agencies, municipalities, nonprofit groups. Requirements for funding vary with the grant makers themselves. But one of the things that we've noticed that I hope you'll pay attention to is the ESG governance that's going on, the environmental, social, corporate governance programs that a lot of big companies are issuing. And it's a good way for them to take some of their profits and give back to the community. And we're actually seeing some benefits of this taking place right now, and we'll touch more on that later. But community partnerships are the most essential. Getting out to the local newspaper, radio station, and TV and showing them this mess, and it gets people upset, and it gives you a dialogue to start going out to corporations and partners. What we've seen is you can wave your flag all day long, and that's just not enough. But the more stakeholders that you can get in your project, the more successful your project's going to be. So here's our first band-along we installed in the United States back in 2009. Basically, we use signs everywhere we can because we're advocates as well as a business owner. We wanted to make a difference with our work, and the only way to do it is to educate people through outreach and education. This trap filled up during the first rain event, and it was basically a unique partnership that I just fell in love with. The District Department of Environment came under a consent order by a federal court to clean up the river, get rid of the trash. It also included Montgomery County and Prince George's County in Maryland. So the first trap was put in 2009. It's still in today. All of our traps are still in and operational. Even the ones in Australia that are 30 years old are still operational. And one of the things you'll see about the construction of this trap, and you'll see it throughout, is the black flotation that we utilize. is high density polyethylene. It is a plastic, and it has a service life of over 100+ years. They make landfill liners of it. And what we do is we weld it air sealed. There's no styrofoam in it. And it basically is a robust system. We use aluminum on it for the structural integrity. And we powder coat it for a theft deterrent, because when we started, the recession was going in full blast, and we knew that shiny aluminum would not sit out there long. So we do a powder coating. It is not a paint. Currently, the Anacostia Riverkeeper maintains 8 Mandalon litter traps. But while this partnership was unique, what they did, the district decided we couldn't pay our employees to go out there and clean it out and then go back and educate people and public awareness. So they gave a grant to the Anacostia Riverkeeper to manage the project. And they hired a group called the Earth Conservation Corps, later Groundworks, through grants to clean the traps and categorize it. But the Earth Conservation Corps actually had a team formed called the Green Team that would go out and do this. Since then, several of the green teams have evolved, doing different work in different locations. But the big ticket was not just cleaning out the trash. It was going back into the schools, grades K through 12, and community groups, talking about litter, the effects and the cost of litter, the impact of it. So to me, the district giving the grant to the Riverkeeper, a nonprofit, and then them in funding another nonprofit of at-risk inner-city youth to go out and clean the traps and go back into the schools. We got the education out. Next slide.
I'm trying.
I have no
System froze.
control.
I know, and my system just froze. I gotta go back out and go back in. All right, sorry about that.
No problem. Nobody wants to look at me.
I will try this again.
Here we go. So that's the old sign there, and then they just replaced them with this sign. They wanted to show wildlife. They wanted to show trash in the water. And then they have a 311 number to report environmental crimes. And this was funded by a disposable plastic bag fee. That was one of the things that came out of using our product, that was the end result, was they found a way to get rid of plastic bags without getting rid of them, and that was to put a fee on them. It wasn't a tax. They didn't want to use the word tax. But then after they saw the impact of the bag fee, they turned around and saw the styrofoam in the water, and they banned styrofoam in DC. They've gone a little extreme there. They even have straw police. They ban plastic straws. They have straw police that go out to restaurants, spot checking them. So DC's was under a court order to do something. It took a court order to do it, but we're seeing that in other cities where citizens are taking the law into their own hands. But this sign is all part of it, and signage really gives a lot to your efforts and the problem. Next slide. Okay, this is a unique partnership, and Chattahoochee Riverkeeper is in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta produces trash just like every other major city. And this is a picture of our Bandit. The Bandit is all high-density polyethylene welded construction. It's a tough little critter. It fits in the back of a pickup truck. It's basically about a third the size or a quarter the size of the trap you saw earlier. And we put this in small channels, 25 feet or less. I think the one we put it in New Jersey is a little bit wider, but at least we can get some proof of concept. And you can see how the booms go up to the top of the bank. We design it and install it so that this thing will go from a low flow event to a peak flow event and always capture trash. Even if the roads are flooding, the trap is designed to sit on top of the water. And it's only designed to capture floatables. And we started off with the red colors, the red and black, because this was at the University of Georgia, and that's what their colors were. And we've since gone back to our green color. Chattahoochee Riverkeeper got the funding. I wasn't going to say who it was, but I think I need to say it was Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola partnered with Chattahoochee Riverkeeper for funding, and they put in not only our trap, but a different trap. They wanted, it was a pilot project to see what ones work. The other traps are no longer in Atlanta, but our traps are. They're still working today. The original ones we put in back in 2018 and 19. Once COVID hit, Coca-Cola saw their funding and their sales going down, and they pulled out of it. And they didn't want their name on it. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. That's just the way Coca-Cola is. And I hope I don't offend anybody that's got Coca-Cola stock or likes Coca-Cola, but a lot of the plastic companies are talking out of both sides of their mouths. And in particular, everybody needs to know that while all this is going on, the plastic industry is building plants to make more plastic at record capacity. This was a good project for Chattahoochee Riverkeeper. They've gone in and put several more in with different corporate sponsors. Next slide. And then this one was funded by National Recreation and Park Association. This is a different product. This is the StormX, and it is made for the end of pipe. We thought, okay, with the Bandalong, we can catch it once it gets in the river, or creek, but what can we do to keep it out of the creek? And then all of a sudden StormX appeared, and we're doing some redesign on that. But what's really unique about both the Bandalong and the StormX is they can adapt pretty easily to what's there, the existing infrastructure. You don't need to go back, dig a hole, and put a hydrodynamic separator in and get permits. And that is one thing when I mentioned the word permits, that you need to check with every municipality, and certainly some areas might be governed by the Coast Guard or the Corps of Engineers for in-stream devices. They won't affect you for end of pipe, but any Bandalong products that you may need to get some permits on. What you see here, we have several different models of Bandalongs, but we also have several models of StormX. This is what we call the half pipe. You get the first flush in the net, and then everything else can overflow once the nets get full. There is a clogging factor. So when these nets get full, that water can't get out. It's got to go somewhere. And the last thing you want to do is put one of these in without the consideration to overflow. Next slide. Here's one of our unique corporate sponsors that and a county in Virginia. This was a really good one. This is one of our larger Bandalong Model 920s. It's 30 feet long. It's got a walkway on it for safety, so people can get up on it and get into the trap. And that brings up an interesting point that you'll see later. A lot of our customers clean these traps manually using volunteers. Prince William County knew they had a problem. They had been over to Washington, D.C. and seen our traps over there. They were convinced, based on our warranties and the track record we had, this was what they wanted to put in. At the same time, Micron was expanding their plant, creating more jobs, and they were going to need more water and sewer capacity. And they came to Prince William to get their water permits, and Prince William kind of pushed back and said, hey, what can you do for us? And they said, well, we do have a foundation, and we have this ESG program. We'd like to do good things. Bring us some projects. So the school system came in, the park and rec people came in, all these different entities, the senior center came in, and they chose to go with the trash trap. I don't know why it won over, but they felt like it was a good project. Micron wrote a check for over $300,000 for the trap, the installation, and then they have money left over to do maintenance and buy safety supplies for the volunteers. This trap has been in several major rain events, and got pictures of it turned up on its side. Micron's just one of those customers that is looking to do something good with their ESG program. And I know that companies like Merck in New Jersey and some of the big corporations up there that have ESG programs are worth reaching out to. Micron and Prince William County just won the Governor's Excellence Award for this project. Unfortunately, they didn't get the gold award, they got the silver award, but still it recognized what they did in a public-private partnership, which we feel is the way to go. I need to stop and tell you something here. We're in business to make trash traps, but your goal is to put us out of business. Your goal is to get people to put their damn trash where it goes and recycle it, or quit using plastics altogether. This was a necessity that somebody had to do this. We make money and we employ people building these, but it's really it's crazy that we're having to do this, that people can't do what they're supposed to. Next slide, please. One of the most important things with any clean out project is keeping data. This was touched on earlier. And this, you can see here, they gave us the pictures inside of it. I didn't like that, but basically it shows you how much styrofoam they're picking up. In the smaller range up there, it was, I can't even read it, but it was tremendous amount. I just blew my screen up. 8,948 pieces of styrofoam. One of the things about the Bandalong and Stormex is once the bigger stuff gets trapped in there, that the smaller stuff, including the microplastics and even pollen, will get captured in there. And that's just, they're furnishing this back to Micron, and the project has been so successful, they're talking about putting a couple more traps in some of their other parks that feed into wetlands. So it's just a big effort that this one community put on with a corporation in their community. Next slide. And here you see some of their volunteers cleaning out the trash. It could be done faster using equipment. One of the fastest ways we've seen is in Brockton, Massachusetts, where they basically have the lift out basket you'll see in operation in a slide, but they decided to use a backhoe and burn some holes in it with a torch so the water would drain, and they just reach in and scoop out the trash, and they can take what would have been 3 hours work and do it in 20 or 30 minutes. So doing it manually is labor intensive. Using equipment, it can be done faster. Next slide. And you can see that there are some seniors out there, and we're real proud of those people getting out there and doing this. And it is a community effort, but without education, it's just going to continue to go. Next picture. And a couple of considerations here with Bandalongs you want to consider. You got to identify the unique flow characteristics. We work good in a velocity range of 9 to 10 feet per second. We have customers that come to us all the time and say, hey, I've got a river that's 20 feet per second, 24 feet per second discharge. Can you help me? And we're like, no. We have to look for calm water where there's not a lot of turbulence, stay in those velocity ranges. The product itself is anchored and manufactured in a way that it can handle those velocities, but the trash gets blown out. The water's moving so fast, the trash just hits the back of the gate and just blows out. Also, you've got to figure out the best points of anchorage. On the big traps, we use 6 ground anchors, or an anchor like you see, which is a what we call a rider pole. It's a concrete mounted piling. And it can be anchored in a riverbed. However, those usually have to get permits, and you get the Corps of Engineers involved. Another thing too, you want to consider, I didn't include this in there, but if you're going to clean this thing out, you got to think about how you're going to get to it. You want your volunteers and you to be able to have safe access up and down the bank carrying bags of trash. So please put that in your in there as well. And here's one at a state park in Gainesville, Florida. You can see how wide the channel is. A lot of the photos we have, the traps sit in the center of the creek. It can be pulled to one side or the other to facilitate clean out. And you see a concrete pad they poured, and this is next to a future visitor center. They wanted the public to see the trash. They wanted the kids that come for school field trips to see the trash, not our product. They wanted to see the trash. And then here's a real unique application. And this did involve a lot of public-private partnership. This started in Mobile, Alabama, and the state came in and fined the city $450,000, I believe. It was a lot of money for impairing the Gulf of Mexico with floatables. And they put another product in that didn't work. And the local nonprofit got a lawyer, and they sent them a letter telling them that they were intending to file a lawsuit for impairing the waterways with trash. And it actually became an issue in the last mayor's race. And the mayor that had done nothing was facing the mayor that rolled up his sleeves and said, I'm going to do something. And you can guess who won. The mayor that rolled up his sleeves. And this was a unique project for us because they actually had to buy a house. The city had to buy a house that's in the flood zone and buy the land so they could have access to clean it up. This one trap gets more trash than any trap we've installed in the United States. This is one overnight rain event, which you're looking at the bottom corner. The local nonprofit went to the power company and got a $25,000 matching grant from Alabama Power. They went to the Chevrolet dealer. They went to the Boy Scouts that held car washes. It became a news event. It became an issue during the mayor's race. And this was a navigable river. It's Lava Creek. To me, it's a river, but they call it a creek. And there was boat traffic. The Corps of Engineers got involved in the permit, and we had to devise and design a deflection boom, which you can see upstream in the lower picture, that knocked the trash over into the trap so that boats and fishing craft could get through. That's been in since 2015. And that's just another example of public-private partnerships, how they work. It doesn't have to be a big corporation or Micron or Merck. It can be the coffee shop or the Boy Scouts. But it does take money to buy these. It does take money to furnish safety equipment for the volunteers. Here's another picture just to show you how much trash can be trapped. We get accused, I'll tell everybody, we get accused of photoshopping our pictures. And one thing we do not do is Photoshop. The traps are effective in how they catch trash. Storm-X, one thing you will note here is when it slows the water down, sediment will fall out behind it. And it can incorporate into a variety of structures. And
Thank
that's
you,
it.
Gary. Awesome. We are close to the 1 o'clock mark, and I want to think there's time for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll look at questions that we have so far. I was not monitoring so carefully, but I believe Joanne was taking a look as well. So we got a question here. How do you and Stormwater Systems use data gathered regarding the amount and types of trash collected from these devices? Um,
We do
I loved your
not,
passionate pitch.
we do not gather. We rely on our clean water partners that are cleaning the traps to get that data. And one of our best clients, Anacostia Riverkeeper, who has 8 of these, will not give us any data. That's part of the grant, and they said that has to be maintained within our grant. They didn't want to give it to us, so we have to respect those decisions.
Well, Deanie, I think this is a perfect time to plug what you have going on in the Lower Raritan as far as it just got installed, right?
Yes, so the first of its kind in the state. It just got installed, and there's going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony on May 19th. We encourage folks to come and see it in action, for
But
sure.
But I will add, New Jersey
what-
Clean Communities helped with a small grant stipend to help implement this program, mainly because we wanted to be able to get the data. Where do we go from here? I mean, what are our next steps in New Jersey? Well, we need to know what kind of litter is out there. So I think this prevention tool is huge. And Gary, you have no idea the power New Jersey has. I heard you talking about all the different funding that people had to raise to be able to do these projects. And New Jersey is very unique, and we were ranked the #1 state for litter prevention programs, believe it or not, because we have a funding mechanism in place. So I think it was really timely on our behalf to do this webinar a week before our 2024 grants were announced. And it's also a few months before the 2023 grants have to be spent. So for those of you, that was a question, what if we have money, left over? Can we save it? This is certainly something you can use your grant funds for.
Great. Good to know, because that's the next question that we got. Gary, what is the price range for the different systems? I know they're not cheap, so we would definitely need, we definitely need a lot of that public-private partnership.
Well,
Do you want to talk about the different prices?
Yeah, the Bandit is our smallest trap. It's all high density polyethylene, 25 feet or less, at the top of the channel, and that is $26,750, and that is not installed. There isn't an additional charge for installation. We're in the process of making a video because the Bandit can be installed by you. And that was one of the things we made the Bandit for, was to reach the people that wanted to make a difference, but didn't have the money for our bigger traps. But at the same time, we feel like the bigger traps have a place too. The Bandalon 320, which is 5 feet wide, 18 feet long. And the difference is the Bandit uses 6-inch diameter booms, and the other Bandalons use 12-inch. And they're much hardier. They can take faster water, much more volumes of trash, and trees. We don't talk about trees enough, but high density polyethylene is very impact resistant. That's one of the reasons it was chosen for the flotation. And those larger traps get into more money. Typically, a Bandalon 320, which is, I said, 5 feet wide or 7 feet outside, 5 feet inside by 18 feet long. And we can do up to 200 feet wide channels with that. And that runs anywhere from 160,000 to 200,000 installed. So we are getting into some serious money. The one thing that you have to realize is that how long these traps last. There are cheaper traps out there, much more economical. We have a 10-year warranty on all of our flotation. One of the things of the picture that Deanie showed of the Bandit being installed was after we installed it, we had to move it downstream because the front end of the trap was going under. And that's another thing about our company is very often when we install a trap, we have to come back after several big rain events and make adjustments. And so those things go into that. Some of the traps get into $300,000 and $400,000 range on the band alarms, the bigger one. The Storm X's are a much more affordable product, and they start out at around $6,000. And like I said, the goal here is to get everybody to put their trash where it goes, not to keep buying
Right.
trash traps.
Yeah, I love that.
Amen.
We're gonna work on getting you out of business.
I know,
I dropped
put us out
Gary,
of business.
I've dropped Gary's email address in the chat for folks. And there's one question that I do want to touch on for you, Joanne, that came through. Are we doing anything to encourage towns to do bulk garbage pickup? Because it's causing an increase in dumping. Would you mind answering that live so that we have it on recording?
Oh, sure. That is probably the one issue I've been trying to address in the last few years. Clean Communities grant funds are not allowed. They're strictly prohibited from being used for bulky waste pickup, anything curbside. It's not litter. That's just people needing to get rid of stuff, which is a viable and necessary program, but is not fundable by Clean Communities. However, you can use your grant funds to buy cameras if you have areas that are, being illegally dumped with large bulky items. You can certainly use your grant money for cameras or to pick up on a public area, not at someone's home, like to go and do a litter cleanup. And I know Recycle Coach also has a bulky waste app for those towns that have discontinued their bulky waste program because it's difficult to manage even with a permit. Recycle Coach has a program you can buy and use, and it helps you track and coordinate curbside pickups, which may be a viable solution.
Got it. We got a couple more questions I just want to take. Again, it's about funding. Joanne, this is for you. Does the 2023 New Jersey Clean Communities funds carry over? They don't, the municipality can hold on to that.
Yeah, yes and no. We don't take the money back. Grant funds are given out generally in May of each year. They have it, they date back to January 1st of that year, and you have an 18-month cycle to spend. So 2023 grant year goes from January 23 to June of 24. So the end of next month, your grants expire. And you're not allowed to spend them unless you have authorization to do so. And that just requires you to submit on letterhead a request for an extension. We don't give an extension for any longer than 6 months. And usually we're a little busy at the end of June. So if you already know now you're not going to be expending your money by June 30th, please send an email to Karen Magnano or njccc@njclean.org so we can, but put it on letterhead. Don't just send an email. You can send an email with the letter scanned to us, please.
And cameras, can you use, can you purchase cameras with that 25% cap as well?
Absolutely. I think I just said that if you have illegal dumping issues, you can certainly use it to purchase cameras.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And then I'm just going to drop the email address that you just stated in the chat. See Clean or
njccc@njclean.org.
what's the email? All right, I'm gonna put that in.
I'll put it
so
in there.
people can get hold of that. Thank you. So so I think we have reached the conclusion of this lunch and learn. We will be sending out the recording along with the slides. And if we didn't get to your questions or you think about other questions as you're wrapping up on your day, please be sure to email info@anjac.org and we'll try to help you out. Sound
I just want
good?
to say thank you to Liz and Deanie and Gary from joining us today.
Thank you so much,
Yes, and
Joanne and
thank
Gary.
you.
It was great.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. All right, let's
I'm
go.
sure our
Let's go
paths will
keep this.
cross again.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Before-
hope so.
be
But we're gonna
forewarned.
clean those streets, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, everybody.
guys.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.